All right. Hey, what's up again? It's your girl Dana Monet, and I'm here again recapping American Idol Season 15, the farewell season, top 4 performance show. So we're getting down to the wire. It's almost done in 2 weeks, so it just seems like it just flew by, and they're phoning it in. I'm phoning it in. It's just zipped by. And well, I'll talk more about how I feel about the season probably on the season finale. So I won't get into that, how I feel about the season as a whole. So we're going to jump into this week. Now, you know how much of a pet peeve it is for me that they don't allow all of the contestants to sing all the time. And I don't understand why, since last season, when they decided to whittle the show down to just one night and not have a result show, why they couldn't cleverly think of a right way to do the results. Like, let everybody sing and give the results at the end. Like, some people online were saying that, oh, well, if the person that was supposed to get eliminated gives a really, really great performance and then they're eliminated, then that doesn't look that good. So what? At least they get to perform. Like, I just don't like this idea of you working hard all week, preparing these songs, and you don't get to sing them. Like, it just doesn't make any sense being on a singing competition show. It makes zero sense at all. And they never figured out the right formula for it. I thought they had it earlier in the season up until last week, when they only let Tristan sing one song and then sent her packing. And this week, Sonica didn't get to sing anything. And personally, I hadn't listened to the iTunes recordings, actually, but hearing her song play in the background, I was like, well, it would have been nice to hear her sing that, like, while her farewell package is going. Even if she's crying, like, isn't that what we used to do when they are eliminated? They sing their farewell song, and that was like a good song to sing as a farewell song. So why not let her sing it and show her package in the back, as opposed to just playing it in the background and then hearing her talk over it? Like, we don't need to hear that. I would have rather hear her sing and then, go out on a good note, go out singing. That's what I would rather see. At least we would have been able to hear her sing one song. But hot mess. Anyway, there were some good parts to American Idol this week, so I'll go ahead and get into that. I'm not actually going to be discussing letter grades, because I feel like, it becomes a little bit redundant based off of my description of what I think, what kind of grade I would give them. And, I just don't feel like doing it anymore. Just like American Idol doesn't feel like doing shit anymore. So, like I said before, I'm phoning it in like American Idol is. So I'm going to discuss my favorites to least favorites this week. My favorite this week was Trent. Trent turned it out on both songs. My boy was like, He's like, I ain't going out without a fight. He's like, I'm going to make y'all forget that counting stars was even potentially something that I did last week. Like, let's just throw that away. And we're moving on to him doing Sharp Dressed Man and Chandelier. It was definitely Trent's night tonight. He ruled. I have to say, the first song, Sharp Dressed Man, I really liked the bluesy, like, swampy intro that they talked about, the groove and everything like that. I was definitely feeling it. I kind of wish that it stayed like that, but I really wasn't mad at the rest of it either. I mean, he was definitely into it. He was committed. His voice was on point. It was like a nice vibe for him. He gave me different things in that performance. He gave blues, he gave rock, he gave country, he gave soul. Like, I was good. I was good with Trent, and he was a sharp dressed man. I will say that. And he was, come on now. Trent is kind of like a chameleon. So I just, I really adore him. And, he turned it on. And his second performance, Chandelier, was definitely my favorite performance that he's done all season long. and absolutely the best performance of the night. I mean, like, I was literally watching him perform Chandelier, and I didn't know that he was going to perform this. I was just hoping somebody would sing Chandelier, but I was watching him like with my hand on my heart, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like he's just really, really, like moving me. I didn't know like what was going on. I was like, oh my gosh, Trent. And he just showed so much restraint, but when he needed to soar, he did, and then he brought it back. And it was just like this pull of like emotions. I thoroughly enjoyed that performance so much. Like I really liked it. It was a very, very nice build, and he could absolutely sing that song. Like Sia was on point, telling him like, you can go up there to them notes, and he can, and he has. And I've actually been telling Trent through these recaps that he should sing a song by a female because he's had such a high voice, and he finally did it this week. Granted, like he kind of had to because it was, Sia Songbook week, and I think even the songs she's written for other people have been females, so he was destined to sing a song by a female this week. But it works for him because he can belt those notes, and he can get to that point. And I think that he's done it before on songs, but I think he did it the best with Chandelier. He did the whole restraint thing the best that I've ever seen him do. And I didn't mind any type of vibrato. Like I don't mind vibrato on a Sia song. Like I don't mind. So he did an excellent job. And Trent is honestly the only acceptable guy left in the competition that I would be okay with dethroning LaPorsche. Because when Trent is in his own, he's definitely dangerous. So good job, Trent. My next is LaPorsche, and she's saying Wanted Dead or Alive and Elastic Heart. While I will say that this was not LaPorsche's best week, and it was not her best week, I think it was actually her weakest week since she's been on the show. But it sure as hell wasn't as bad as Dalton and Mackenzie. Like, I think that we need to be realistic about it. Like, even though LaPorsche didn't slay like she normally does, she's given us so many A+ performances. Don't, put her back down at the bottom just because she gave some B+ performances. It's still better than Dalton and Mackenzie. So, it's a shame as we're kind of grading her on a curve. We're grading her against herself. And, LaPorsche is, a Black woman who is a soulful singer, a little thicker than most, not the ideal physical person that is marketable or commercial. I hate those words, right? So a cute guy with a guitar could easily come up and pew. Oh, LaPorsche was an A+ this week. Well, she's whack. I didn't like her anyway. Like, so I'm just hoping that doesn't happen, because even though this wasn't her best week, she still gave solid performances. She still absolutely has a presence and a star quality that is very effortless to me. Like, she doesn't have to try. I was kind of feeling the Wanted Dead or Alive performance in the beginning. I thought it was like kind of gritty, and that like husky, like kind of growl in her voice was coming out. I was like, yes, more of that. But then I kind of feel like the song didn't necessarily go anywhere. Like, I was waiting for her to do something different, like maybe a key change or vocally, have her voice soar. Like, I kind of feel like this competition has definitely taken a toll on her voice, which it does to every singer in this competition, because you sing all the time, every day, all day, every week. It's just very, there's a lot of stress put on your voice. So I think that some risks that she took earlier on in the competition with her voice, she's like not able to take those same kind of risks now. And that's why I kind of think that the Wanted Dead or Alive performance, it just felt a little bit flat to me. It wasn't bad by any means, but it just wasn't, as far as up-tempo is concerned, it wasn't the same LaPorsche that sang Come Together. it wasn't even the same LaPortia that sang Proud Mary. And as much as I loathed that song and her outfit that week, I mean, she owned it. She did. I can't even front about that. But this one, this up-tempo performance, it fell a tad bit flat. And there was a point where she was walking around the stage and she took the mic away from her mouth. And I was like, oh no, don't take the mic away from your mouth, LaPortia. So I was a little bit like, oh goodness, are you doing that? But I mean, again, it was still a solid performance from LaPortia, but it was like her low point since she's been on the show. And it's not even that low of a point. Do you know what I'm saying? And I don't like to do this because, you know, I don't like to compare to the other, you know, big voice diva that won the competition a couple of years ago, because people always compare and like, there can't be another Candace Glover that wins or whatever the case may be. But I'm only doing it for the sake of a good analogy. Like, it's a purpose to it. So this was Classic Rock Week. Half of the show was Classic Rock Week. Back when Candace Glover was on Idol, they also had a Classic Rock Week. And Candace sang, well, she sang Come Together on Beatles Week, but she sang I Can't Get No Satisfaction on Rock Week. And even though that wasn't necessarily my favorite performance of hers or the best song that she could have sang, she had a lot of fire and she had a lot of, you know, like gusto, and she did a lot of interesting things with the melody, and, you know, she let her voice do what Candace's voice does, and it was just all up in here, all over the place, and that type of thing. And I think as far as like the rock element is concerned, I think that LaPortia needed to adopt that a little bit more. I did prefer Elastic Heart a little bit more. Like, I love the beginning, like with the drums, like it was giving me this kind of like, you know, reggae-fied vibe a little bit, which was kind of working with her hair. Did not condone that trash bag with that they look like they sprayed glitter on it outfit. Like, come on now, y'all. Stylists, like, I've been seriously defending LaPortia's style all season. People have been hating on what she was wearing, when she wore the leather bodysuit, when she sang Come Together, when she wore all of that sequins, when she sang Halo. Like, I've been defending her. Like, I've been trying. But that, come on now. Y'all have to know. You cannot put something like that on a full-figured woman. And if she wanted to wear that as a stylist, you need to strongly suggest against that. Like, that is just not okay. It's just not okay. Just don't. Just don't do that. Anyway, back to the song, Elastic Heart. I feel as though, like I said, she did do better. She had a little bit of some pitch issues in both performances, but I also feel like with Elastic Heart, even though I liked it better than Wanted Dead or Alive, I feel like it still needed to go somewhere. Like, it didn't do everything that I would have wanted to do with that song, especially since I heard on The Voice, Maya and Hannah kind of kill that in the battle. And it was like so much, you know, like ferocity. And then when LaPortia was singing it, it was like good and solid. But I was waiting for a moment like what she had with like Diamonds or Halo. Like, I was waiting for that like spectacular moment. And I think that's the problem when I watch LaPortia. Like, I'm always waiting for something spectacular to happen. So then when it doesn't happen, I'm like, oh, that wasn't as good as what I know that she can do. And I feel like that's a little bit of a problem because she's so amazing that when she doesn't reach that amazing mark, we forget about when she was amazing, if that makes any sense. Like, I mean, I still voted for her. I voted for her and Trent. So, you know, I'm shipping Trent and LaPortia to that finale. So hopefully that happens. I'm a little bit worried about LaPortia this week because, you know, she's surrounded by all these white guys with guitars and two of them can't really sing or project. But they're cute and girls. So I don't know, but like, LaPortia, in my opinion, even though she's been like a front runner the entire season, LaPortia has to be amazing. I feel like I don't feel like she has a choice. Unfortunately, she's not the type of contestant on the show that can coast. And since she set the bar so high for herself, she has to perform at that A plus level all the time, in my opinion. And this week, she didn't. I feel like she definitely had the opportunity, especially with Elastic Heart, but I don't think that she quite made it. I think that she was BB plus tonight, and that's not good enough even to beat out mediocre singers. I'm worried. I voted. Vote. Well, you might not be able to vote anymore because they closed voting at like 10 a.m. Pacific time. So, but I hope you guys voted for LaPortia. Please vote for LaPortia. I hope you guys voted for LaPortia. And we can't have LaPortia get eliminated just based off of BB plus performances when she's had all, like, mostly AA plus performances. We can't have that happen. So I'm a little bit worried, but to me, she's a star. So moving right along. Last week, I had Dalton at the bottom, like even below Sonica. This week, he comes in third, but he's a very distant third to LaPortia. His songs were God Only Knows and Bird Set Free. I've been having the biggest struggle with Dalton all season. And, I did vocally prefer God Only Knows because I think that vocally he sounded better. And it was interesting because his voice was put in the forefront and there wasn't a lot of music and instruments and stuff. It was a lot focused on his voice. I mean, he still had pitch issues, but it sounded better, and like the tone that came out of his voice, I prefer that to the other song. But the problem that I had is, one, I personally don't feel like the Beach Boys is rock and roll. Like when I think of rock and roll, I think of rock and roll, like, and, like kind of like that, like Steven Tyler type of thing. And I think of like electric guitars, and I think of like pyrotechnics, like everything Caleb Johnson did in his season. That's what I think about when I think about rock and roll. You know what I mean? And as far as being like the resident rocker on the show, like the Bird Set Free performance, that Sia songs was more rock than God Only Knows. I mean, as you being the rocker, if we're picking a category that's thriving in what you do, I need you to go out there and rock. Like, I need you to be like, if you're gonna be out of tune, I need it to be because you are so amped and you're pumped and you're kind of running on the stage and you're like, I don't know what song he would have sang. I mean, I'm not even talking about that Seven Nation Army song that he was going to sing. I mean, something that's really, really rocking. I mean, I don't know any other way to put it, really. I just needed a real rock performance from Dalton, and that was something that, I didn't really like care for like that. And then, so I wanted him to go ham, and he went sentimental on me. So, whatever. And, then he has Bird Set Free. And again, he's like sentimental, but in a different way. And I felt like it was really ironic that in the song, he says, there's a line in the song that says, I don't care if I sing out of key or something like that. And I was like, it's really ironic, and I feel like he really thinks that because he knows that he's out of tune a lot of times, but he should care. And Harry Connick Jr., I am mad at you because you call out everybody's pitch issues. Maybe he's just phoning it in and he doesn't really care about somebody staying on pitch or not. That could be the issue. But he has never called out Dalton, to my knowledge, on his pitch issues. Ever. Like, ever. And I have a serious problem with that because Dalton has had pitch issues since top 8 week. It's been like almost a month that he's been having pitch issues. Like, he's kind of like become CJ. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not even as bad as Quentin from last season was. First of all, I loved Quentin Alexander, but like, Dalton's tone doesn't make up for the fact that he has pitch issues. However, there was a part in Bird Set Free where he kind of went a little bit higher on a specific part. Like, it was like the end of the song. And I was like, oh, I like this part of your voice. You should use that part of your voice more often. He stays kind of here when he needs to be here. it brings his energy up. It helps him to stay on pitch more. Like it just worked. But I don't know. Like he's playing the game though. He's trying to be like, I'm sentimental. Like I have problems. Like I'm this and I'm that, and vote for me because, I make you feel and all this type of stuff. Like I get it, but I just can't. And in reference to the whole rock thing, again, there have been rockers on the show that have killed it, and like Dalton is just a little ant compared to them. Like I already mentioned Caleb Johnson. David Cook was on the show performing tonight. Chris Daughtry, Adam Lambert, even like James Durbin from a couple of seasons ago. Like that's rock what they do. To me, Dalton is like, even in his best moments, to me, isn't like rock. I don't know. Like, help me out with this because I'm not like getting it. I guess it's like alternative rock. So alternative rock is a little bit softer, I guess. But I feel like rockers' voices should soar. Like all of the contestants that I mentioned that performed a lot of rock songs, and his voice doesn't soar, So, but that's kind of how I feel about Dalton. I still feel like, even though I think Dalton has a chance, it should still be a Trent Porsche finale. Like, I don't think that he's good enough. I don't think that he should win. Like, I just, I'm over Dalton at this point. And moving on to Mackenzie, who sang I Want You to Want Me in Titanium. And I just have to say, the Mackenzie who sang Billie Jean last week completely left the building. I don't know what happened to him. This was like, I don't know. This was like back to old Mackenzie, who can't project his voice, who is like scared to go for the high notes, who's like super airy. Like I kept on trying to think to myself. I was like, I don't know if he just like physically can't project his voice. For him, it's not even so much of him like not singing on pitch, even though he had some issues with that too. It's about his just inability to project his voice. So I don't know if he just can't, or if it's that he's like too scared to like push his voice there. Like Sia was like, I think you can hit that I am titanium, like in your false, and he was backing down and like doing the harmony part on it. And I was just like, just go for it. You know what I mean? Like, so that bothers me. He takes a rock song and makes it this total singer-songwriter coffee shop thing on I Want You to Want Me. And it's like, I get that that's your style, Mackenzie, like I do, but every song you flip, it's flipped into the same way. Like all genres, it just goes into the same way. And I just don't think that on like Rock Week that you should be, I don't know, it should be like rock. And I feel like Trent and LaPortia did a much, much better job on the rock songs in terms of, executing the rock elements of it and picking a song that would kind of rock. Whereas, Mackenzie and Dalton didn't. And specifically, with Mackenzie doing these arrangement changes, and it just didn't work for me on that song. And then Titanium was better. And again, with the whole projection of the voice, like, it's like they need to turn his mic like way, way up because you can't hardly hear him. It's like breathy. It's like he's reaching, like he's like, I am titanium. Like it's jarring to me, actually. And, I just need him to really work on that. And it's unfortunate because I really, really liked Mackenzie in the beginning. Like I loved his audition. It was one of my favorite auditions. I loved when he sang his original song. I loved when he sang Can't Help Falling in Love. And then that was it. And then Billie Jean was like a little bit of that Mackenzie that I saw earlier on. But then that was just like a fluke again. So whereas last week I was like, I don't mind if Mackenzie were to win. I'm throwing that out the window. I don't even care what he does next week if he were to make it through another week. Like Mackenzie, no, because I need somebody to be able to project their voice. And again, just like I compared Dalton to all the previous rockers, I'm going to compare Mackenzie to all of the other WGs. That even though I get sick of the WGs winning, All of the other WGs that won could at least project their voice. David Cook, Chris Allen, Philip Phillips, Nick Fradiani, even Scotty McCreery, Lee DeWise, they can all project their voice. They're all capable of singing loudly and having a commanding presence with their voice, whether I like their style or what they do or not. Mackenzie just doesn't have that capability. I just don't think that he is a good bookend to Kelly Clarkson in terms of winning American Idol. It just, for me, it can only be LaPortia or Trent. That's the only thing I can say. And Mackenzie, I just really feel like he needs some serious vocal lessons, because I believe that he can project his voice. He just needs somebody to really bring that out of him. Or at least I'm hoping that he can really project his voice. Maybe he can't. But listening to Mackenzie and Dalton sing, out of tune, and them just struggle with just singing in general when this is a singing competition, I was like, well, why couldn't Sonica have sang? Or I wish that Sonica didn't go home. You know what I mean? Because at least I would have heard somebody sing on pitch and be able to project their voice and have a nice tone. And at least I would have had that. So, that's how I feel. Y'all know how I feel. In other news, like I mentioned earlier, David Cook performed. I didn't care for the song. It didn't go anywhere for me, but David Cook is great. Catherine McPhee performed Somewhere Over the Rainbow. She looked great and she sounded pretty good, although, she had some, not really pitch issues. That's what I wrote down, but it was like some cracks in her voice. But fine, she looked amazing. She looked better than what she did 10 years ago when she was on the show, or 11 years ago. Damn, it's been a long time. And just for the record, I never really disliked Catherine McPhee. Like, a lot of people didn't like her, or they thought that she was like the bitch or like the mean girl type. I always kind of liked Catherine, so I'm just gonna put that out there. And of course, the mentor Sia performed, and I actually really liked the Sia song, and I was feeling it. It had a reggae vibe to it. I liked it, and I actually saw on Wikipedia that I guess there's a version of that song that's featuring Sean Paul, and I haven't heard that, so cool. And hometown visits actually are starting this week. So the top 4 are going home on Saturday, I believe they said. And like I said earlier, it's only 2 more weeks left until the finale. So we are wrapping this up. I feel like when I do the finale episode, I'm going to have to do that in a 2-parter, because I just talked about 4 contestants and it's almost been a half an hour that I've been talking. But, I had a lot to say, obviously. So until next time, I'm going to be doing my recap for The Voice next week, and then for Idol later on next week. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And yeah, like, comment, and subscribe. See you later.